that the students will be asking the questions. So I guess the best thing I can tell you is we're here to have a good time. We're anxious for you to share your memories and your thoughts about your time in school. We hope you feel very free to tell us the positive, the negative, the funny, the unfunny, the things that you most remember. We'd like to start out this evening by having the students introduce themselves and then go around the room and let each of you introduce yourself if you went to school here in Franklin or somewhere else. And after that, we'll let the students take it from there. I'm assuming everyone knows who I am. I think you do. And we'll start with Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Bouchard, and I'm in the 6th grade, and I go here at Franklin Central.
Hi, I'm Jamie Rainbow, and I'm in the 6th grade, and I go here at Franklin Central School.
Hi, I'm Holly Snyder. I'm in the 6th grade, and I go here at Franklin Central School.
Hi, I'm Eric Bravo, and I'm in the 6th.
What grade are you in?
6th.
Mrs. Danram, would you like to begin? I think this is an extra.
It's an extra one?
Extra one. Visitor. They'd like you to introduce yourself, please.
My name is Jamie Snyder, and I'm in the 4th grade, and I go to Franklin.
And I am Sanyan Gandura, and I lived in Franklin for 40 years. When I was your age, I was in school in Canada, exactly in Farnham, Quebec.
My name is Daniel Favreau. I've been in Franklin for 14 years, and I've been in school in Canada.
My name is Tanya Spercy. I live in Franklin for 36 years, and I've been in school in Montreal.
My name is Philip Bouchard. I was born where I live. I went to the upper school a little bit, and then I went to school in Canada. We used to walk 2 miles every day, not in the morning, to go to school. Yeah.
Sugar Seal, which is Charlie Hill.
I'm Elaine Bouchard. I was born in Highgate. I went to school in Highgate.
Oh.
My name is Bonnie Rainbow, and I'm still right here.
How many years ago? That's not what we're asking age, Mrs. Bouchard.
19 and older.
Right.
My name is Terry Pierce, and I went to different school. I went to school in Canada and over here, and I finally graduated in South.
I'm Debbie Brennan, and I've been in Franklin for this is our 5th year, and I went to school in Georgia.
Well, I'm Philip Pierce, and I was born in Franklin and went to school, both at the Hubbard School and here, and graduated in high school, was almost 100 years old.
Minus a few.
Well, my name is Armin Gaborio, and I was brought up here in Franklin, and went to school here in Franklin, graduated in Franklin in 1947.
I'm Blanche Gaborio, and I went to school in St. Albans, and I've been here a little over 27 years.
Okay, I think we'll begin with Mark. You have some questions to ask?
We have 7 classrooms in our school. How many did you have in your school when you started?
One room schoolhouse, and I also taught school in a one room schoolhouse.
We have one room and cover from 1st grade to 8th grade. About 40 people, one teacher.
7th grade, 8th grade. We had 2-room schools with almost 40 kids in each room.
How many teachers?
2 teachers.
One per room.
Very.
Me?
You're next in line, Mr. Bouchard.
Well, one room schoolhouse, one teacher, between 35 and 40 kids. From 1st to 7 or 8, I'm not sure. And in Canada, That was in Canada. In the state, I only went a little bit. My father wanted us to speak French. That's the bad part of it. It's good and bad. You're right. Right, you are? That's it?
Mr. Bouchard, when you attended the Hubbard School, was Mr. Hubbard, Seth Hubbard, teaching then? I know he started out teaching there.
It was Alfred of Power.
Oh,
And a little bit D.D. Granger. With the Power and D.D. Granger.
and these two ladies still live in Franklin,
Yes.
isn't that true? Yes.
I went to a one-room schoolhouse in the first grade. Most of the time there were students in the 8th grade. Once in a while there was one grade. But they had one teacher. And with a big stove in the center of the room, that's what he was doing.
Well, I went to school here, and I think we used 9 rooms. The only gate was in the kindergarten.
I didn't get the room.
It's probably about the same. Yeah.
I don't think there is.
Probably not quite as many.
I went to different school, grade school.
Yeah.
I went to boarding school. In the boarding school, I think there was about 60 pupils.
What was the name of it?
Yeah. From first grade to 10th, 12th grade, I don't remember. In our class, I'd say maybe 25.
We had 8 classes, 1 through 8. There were probably 25 in each class.
I went to the same school that Phil went to, Hubbard School, and I don't remember the number of students, but there must have been some in every grade.
One thing I got mentioned from Hubbard School, there was a lot of cousins up there when we went. Grangy, Gauthier, Bouchard, Lissette, and us. That was bad. That was bad. Teachers didn't like it. No, Phil wasn't done.
Okay, well, when I went here, I believe there was 7 rooms. That included a home ec, carpenter shop down in the basement. No, and on the first floor, there was also labs.
What was the science lab, Mr. Gregorio?
Oh, they also taught agricultural class in there too, but yes, agricultural in there, and science, yes, Mrs. Dewey taught science in there. We had experiments in there.
And there were how many grades in the Franklin school then, Mr.
There were
Gregorio?
12.
12.
About, 7th and 8th grade was upstairs with the high school, and I would say there was probably about 60, around 60. Like the grades downstairs. There was only 2 grade rooms downstairs.
I went to Holy Angels School, which, well, they had something like kindergarten. It was called a baby grade then. You had grade that class beside the 8 others. And then you had a commercial course, which was a 2-year course. But I went to BFA and graduated from BFA. In Holy Angels, your average class was 45 students.
Wow.
Yeah, these nuns really taught quite a few of you. And in high school, you had at least 35 or 40. It's different.
Jamie, would you like to answer the question now?
The teachers here in Franklin are fairly nice. How are yours? Is there one you can especially remember?
Jamie, would you mind repeating your question, please?
The teachers here in Franklin are fairly nice. How were yours? Is there one you especially remember?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to go in a line. If you just have a memory, you're free to share it at any time.
I think we all, most of us remember Miss Gates.
Definitely.
I had Miss Gates through all high school,
Not me. It wasn't me.
through all my high school. Always got along.
What was her first name?
Lucille.
Lucille Gay.
She taught here almost 40 years.
Is that right? Well, Mrs. Malone's trying to beat her record.
Yes, Mrs. Malone is just about there. Did you teach with her, Mrs. Malone?
Oh, yeah.
You taught with Lucille?
I've been here, this is my 34th year. I've seen a lot of people through.
I'm sorry, does everyone in the room know, this is Juanita Malone. Juanita teaches first grade here at Franklin.
I've had almost all of their children, I think, in school.
You're at my five.
I think so.
Some of our grandchildren.
Yeah.
I know, but it could be.
Well, I'm sure she had Philip and Elaine's grandchildren.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, there's one right there.
Yeah, Mark.
Of course, you probably don't remember Mr. Sturgis, he was the principal here for many years, I guess 17 years he was here. And there was Mr. Sylvester, principal.
You remember Mr. Sterling's salary? If my memory serves me correctly, it was $2,000 a year. We probably got a little expense money.
Kazuba?
Right?
Juba,
Alex Kazuba.
I believe Miss Dewing, Miss Marjorie Dewing told me at one time back when she began teaching, they used to go around and take a collection in town for the teachers. Is that true? They used to,
I don't remember. Could be.
well, she taught here for a number of years as
yeah.
well.
She was a good teacher also. You could learn from her if you wanted to.
Those Beach Boys didn't do as well as others, I understand. How do you feel, Mrs. Malone, seeing grandchildren of
I enjoy it. You know, it's rather exciting when you have a father, you know, mother, grandchildren, have their children. I really enjoy it. You know the family so well. It's a good feeling.
Does that help you when you're teaching the child?
I think so.
Does it come from that?
You know the background, you know the family so well. Because I love them all. It doesn't matter. Somebody had the group. Somebody had the group.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things. Yeah, I get that.
My age grade school, I had one teacher, was Mrs. Hudson for 4 years. Then for 2 years I was long. Then I had Miss first grade. There's just 3 teachers for my 8th grade. And I think I remember Miss Rushford the most. I don't know if she was a very good teacher.
Why did you finish the thought here? I just knew it.
I was great. See, not one of those, not three together. Love my sister.
It was not different. One school, one room schoolhouse, when I went to school than it is today. You sat in your pew, you were quiet, couldn't talk to your partner, because that was cheating. I remember one teacher, she had a rule about that long, you missed a man, and she was to death. You know what it meant? Silent. If you were nice to the teacher, she was nice. But if you tried to be smart, the door was there. I remember one. She said, "Sir, the door." It was raining. He went, came back about an hour and a half later. She says, "Where's the letter?" "I don't have one." She said, "You didn't go home?" "No." "Sit down." She didn't bother with him all day. The next day, he knew what he had to do. The teacher went and saw the mother, and that was it.
The hours was from what?
9 to 4.
9 to 4, 15 minutes before noon,
15 minutes in the afternoon.
an hour for lunch.
how many of you went through 12th grade versus coming through 8th grade or 10? You went 10? So? 5? What about in Canada?
That was in Canada.
Oh, that was in Canada.
Well, in Canada, you start the first grade. You don't call that first grade. It was school preparatory.
Yeah.
But that was the first
Then
grade.
there was second.
No. One. Yeah, one.
Well, when I started,
Yeah. What grade?
well,
Oh, yeah?
You used to go two years, grade 1 year also.
Yeah. So
4 to
you jump-
5, 6 or
You
7.
can jump if you were good enough.
Together. Used to be together. Pretty well
That's
the same.
fun. Sometime in the one schoolhouse, you could learn together.
yes.
The subject of the
Yes, you
Then
were learning as you
sitting
went.
there and you could answer.
Right.
See, the and so they said, well, you can go with this group then. So they, that was quite common. Skip one grade or move to the next
Well,
grade.
if you get done your homework early, you just go back to the next grade higher.
Well, you were exposed to everything else. So it's great, great higher.
Did the students miss a lot of school back then? Because I remember my father telling me he had to bring them out to the creamery, and he used to get to school about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So he missed all morning most days.
Some family, yes.
Did that happen a lot?
We used to have a lot.
A lot of parents,
Oh yeah, and they walked to school too.
children come.
We missed school to stick to bed.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many of you started school in September and how many later because of harvesting crops?
We started later for harvesting to bed.
Or finished early in the spring because of spring planting?
We had a big family, so we always got a couple stay home, all the rest of them.
Oh.
The oldest one stayed home.
Did any of you board the teacher at your home? My dad remembers they had a large family. There were 12 children, and my grandfather used to hire the teacher for their school right there. And then the teacher would come home with my father after and would live right there for maybe 5 or 6 months, however long.
Now, that'd be a good one for the kids. How would you like to have your teacher home at night?
They never got away with too much.
Where I went to school, I was too far from school for teaching board, but they used to board at Loftus's.
Oh, yeah.
Delta.
Down, which was just down the road from the school.
No kids?
I remember.
The teachers mustn't have been married then.
No, Mrs. Hartwell lived on the corps.
We lived within a mile of the school, so I believe over the years we had as many as 4, if not more teachers that boarded
Boarded at
with us.
Remember when your mother used to make the hot lunch?
I remember when we
Mother, I remember.
I seem to remember that.
Frankie's here used to go out to the lunch.
I'll have to tell you a little story if you want to bear with me a minute.
Yep, love to hear it.
We had
Your
a
wife talking
fellow
to you there.
that boarded with us. His name was Eugene C. Avila. And he was an Italian boy from Clinton, Mass. And he had I think it was 1941 or 2 that he was there. He was there only 1 year. But he had a little Ford. They had a 60 horsepower Ford, the model. They had the 85 and they had a 60. Well, the 60 didn't stay around too long. But anyway, I remember this particular morning that my brother and I thought we'd have a little fun with him. So we went out and his car was in the garage. Before he got ready to go, we jacked up one corner of the car. Gene came out and got into the car. He stepped on it and it didn't do anything. He got out and he looked around, he didn't notice anything right off, he tried it again. Well, Elwich and I were upstairs where we could see what was going. We couldn't hold him in longer. He didn't appreciate it too much.
Did you have a long day at school that day, Mrs.
Boy
Harris?
was out of school. You were out of school
Oh,
then.
yes, we were out.
He was a man.
Early 20s.
Good things.
Yeah.
Was that the last teacher that taught school in Hubbard?
No.
Pretty
Paula
good.
Alfred taught after that. And think yeah, Paula taught after
Paula.
Paula Elper.
Some people are confused. Could you explain where the Hubbard School was? There are people confused.
Right across from
Right. Just so they're, I don't know if any of the children realize where there's the Hubbard School.
Jamie, you know where
Jamie knows where
Schoolhouse,
it
yeah,
is.
right across from where Jamie lives. It's owned by David Gates now.
And her father, if it was, she would use a bicycle to go to school. But if the weather, if it was raining or if it was cold, her father would take her, or in the winter, her father would take her. And so we would try to get ready and watch for her. And if we would go out at the right time, we could have a ride. Some morning.
Not on a bicycle.
No, in the winter when
Yeah.
her father was taking her. It was so cold sometimes that we would all get in the back of the vehicle. We would all get into, she would be sitting in the front seat with her father driving the horse. And we would go on there, and they had those,
Obviously.
you know, the carrioles.
Oh, yeah.
The,
Robes, big buffalo robes.
buffalo robes, the blanket.
Yeah.
Whatever, coon or buffalo. Or
They called it.
and we would get under, we would cover us completely. So that was what a treat to have a ride to school, 1 mile. What a treat, oh, what a memory.
Is it a treat to ride the bus?
Well,
It's something we was doing, and we had to line up 2 by 2 in a school before we left, and we have to hold 2 by 2 on the side of the road. One go home, the other one have to line up with this one. And every
was
friend
in the-
watch
that
on
was
the
in the
road
village.
and count the teacher, let the teacher know if we don't walk straight on the side of the road 2 by 2. I like to do that later.
I remember that when we left school, when we were excused, we had to walk out of school, and if you were caught running, the teacher would call you
Oh,
back
yeah.
in and sit down.
Yeah.
And you were
No,
the last
That
one.
probably never happens here, gentlemen or ladies running out the door.
Actually, you could probably, one of them could probably share what we do now if they caught running.
Mark, would you like to share what they do
Well,
here if you're caught?
See, we have, see, when we run up the stairs, we have to, we have like this, it's sort of like discipline, and we have to,
It is discipline, son.
I get the strong impression it is discipline, Mark.
and when we're caught, we have to walk up and down the stairs for 5 minutes. And if we do it, I think if we do it again, right after we do it for 10 minutes, it goes on. And
Or I have you right. I shall not run in the stairs. 100 times, you remember that.
right.
Well, we have that.
Hmm?
Holly, would you like to answer a question?
my favorite subject in school is math. My least favorite was social studies. I think I'd like to hear what was your favorite subject.
Mrs. Malone, go on.
I think my favorite subject at school was reading. I enjoyed reading very, very much.
The subject I had the hardest time with was English.
That was tough. English. Yeah.
Oh, why? Because it's hard.
That was tough. English.
I'll show
Good. Best one I had? No. The best and the worst. Or the worst one.
No, the best.
The best and the worst.
The worst one was homework.
Did you just make that a subject?
That covered the whole ground. Did you do it? Oh, you had to. We had to. We had to. Yeah. Not overload, but we had to do homework. Yeah. If you were naughty, once in a while, you probably got overloaded.
I think they go with him.
What was your best? Which one did you like best?
Physics, what was your best subject?
Oh, I like to write.
What was your least, Agnes? Least
Oh,
favorite?
math and English, and it's still show everybody can see it.
It's only bad when you and Mrs. Bouchard get together at a church dinner. try to explain things to me, half
They
in French
understand
and half
very
in
well
English.
what they're talking
I know,
about.
but they expect me to understand, and I'm not as intelligent as they
I
are.
was calling a few minutes ago when he was speaking French, and he was 9 and 3. You know?
English was the word.
Not to make you feel bad, English is known to be the most difficult language to learn in the world, next to Chinese.
I thought
Grammar.
grammar. I mean grammar.
Oh, grammar.
Because
Oh,
they
that
went
was
from,
Chile.
because you went from Canada to American
To
schools
American.
and back,
Yeah.
and they'd
Yeah.
learn it one way, and then they'd go back and learn.
Yeah, I would think that that was probably.
But I consider myself lucky. Some worse I am.
I think my favorite one was spelling.
I did not know
People
that.
shaking heads over here.
Huh?
I see some other faces shaking over here.
You don't like it?
So that's where your son gets it from, huh?
Which one?
Spell. He can't spell.
He can. You ask him, I would ask him sometimes, he'd spell a word wrong, how do you spell that word? He'd spell it right for me. It's not that he didn't know it, it was careless or something. Well, worse, I don't know.
Me?
I think grammar was,
Did you see her nod
I had a
yes?
problem with grammar.
You think, like, I know it's way out subject. The last night I came to the custom 430. Said, hi. He said, what citizenship? I said, U.S. He repeat, what citizenship? I said, U.S. He didn't believe me. He said, you're a Canadian. I said, like, I was born where I live. I had to show him my license, told him that I knew Jim very Cuny and this other. He didn't believe me. I said, you know something? I've got a French accent and I'm proud of it. Because you can't stop it. I thought this happened to me last night. First time it ever happened. Go ahead.
That's my favorite was physics. My worst is math.
That's my.
I think my favorite subject was
Well, actually, I think.
Oh, yay, Mrs. Spears.
What'd she say?
Waiting for someone to say history.
And I like geography. I guess the one I liked the least was maybe math.
Were the ones
I
you
love
liked
math.
best the ones you did the best in? Were the ones that you liked the best the ones you also did the best in? Meaning your better grades were in history and your poor grades were in math, or just you just didn't care for those
Well, I
subjects?
had, in high school, my math marks were fairly. But I worked hard.
Me too.
That's what I was
My favorite and least favorite subject was the same subject. It was math. And I have a couple of little stories about that. In the 5th grade, we were supposed to learn our timetable. And we had to know them all by, I don't know, Christmas time or something. And I didn't know the nines. And the teacher asked me the nines in front of everybody else, and I was just mortified. Because I didn't know them, and so I hated math. From that point on, well, the next year I had another teacher, and she used to do different games with us, and cribbage was one of them. And she used to, put different, you have to know, you had to have to add real quickly when we were playing cribbage. And so then I started to like cribbage, to like math again, and so I think it can be fun too.
Well, I think strange as it may seem, one of my favorite subjects was English grammar. I just kind of love that. And I guess the least favorite was deportment. Maybe you don't know what deportment means, but deportment is...
I thought you meant deported from the U.S. I said, I guess I could see where you might dislike that.
I think I'm right, and I think deportment was your, your behavior.
You're probably in the right department. No.
Manners and...
Yeah, that's it. There was a category, deportment, on your report card.
I think it's very similar conduct.
Yeah.
Please and thank
Conduct,
you. And,
same thing.
Judging from your Jack story, I can understand why.
I like math pretty well until I got to algebra, and I hated that.
Why did I down here?
Hmm?
What was your favorite one?
That's math, but then I got to algebra now.
What about your least favorite, Armin?
My least favorite,
I'm trying to figure it out.
down in the grades, you mean?
Well,
Overall.
Least favorite. I wasn't too hipped on any of them, really.
that's real honest of you, Armin, and I appreciate an individual who's willing to say that. Because you make me think of my father. My father quit the 12th grade in January. He got in a fight with a teacher. Had to hit the teacher. Knocked him cold. Yeah, no, he hit him. My father hit him, knocked him cold.
He was a man.
Yeah, man teacher. He had said something apparently rather derogatory about one of my aunts. And my father had a fairly quick temper at that age, and he cold-cocked him one. Didn't wait to be sent home. He walked home. It was 5 miles to the farm. He got home, and he told my grandfather he hit, in fact, the man lives just up the street from him now. He hit this teacher, and my grandfather said, that's fine, you have to go back tomorrow and apologize. My father said, I won't apologize, and I'm not going back. My grandfather said, there's the manure pile, and you start on that. And that was probably close to 48 years ago. And my father will tell you today that he feels, 50 years ago, my father's been out of high school 50 years this year. That's the worst thing he ever could have done. Not hitting the teacher. He still says the teacher deserves it. But he's very sorry he didn't finish school. Yeah. He feels that even though he was a very successful businessman, ran his own business for 30 years, he feels that he would have benefited for himself to finish school, to put a little bit more into it. But when you said that, it made me think he didn't really like school, so when the teacher said something, that gave him the chance to get out.
No, I was the only one that graduated in my family.
Oh, really?
As soon as the rest of them got to the 8th grade, they pulled them out and had to work.
Were you the youngest, Armin? Were you
That's what it was.
Well, that's what happened to me. And I hated school. I hated school. I know today those are your best years of your life. School. You don't believe it, but it's true.
I often dream about it. I'm back in school.
Oh, yeah.
Are they good dreams or nightmares?
They're pretty good dreams.
Yeah.
I couldn't have hated it that bad, could he?
I was just going to say, you know, he hates it that bad or he has nightmares.
I think, Mike, I'll say like Armin, when I tried algebra, that was a downfall. But, my favorite was geography and history, I think. And I'll tell you, coming back from Florida, we stopped to visit friends not too far from Philadelphia, and she took us in, and I was able to see the Liberty Bell and touch it, and that was a thrill, which is something that's living history. It's really, Philadelphia's a wonderful place to visit.
One of our teachers used to say, live your history.
It's very difficult for me as a history teacher to explain to students, especially I have high school seniors right now who are very anxious to graduate. They see the end in sight. Explain to them that what they did today, tomorrow is history. And that maybe 20 years down the road, that history is going to be very important. That turning on the television and watching the UVM protest today is the same as any of us having turned on the television in 1968 and watching the protests on the college campuses, Kent State, watching Martin Luther King or Robert F. Kennedy being assassinated. Those of you, many of the students, you probably remember the space shuttle exploding. 20 years from now, your children are going to come home from school and say to you, do you remember seeing the Challenger explode? And you're going to be able to say, we turned the TV on in school, and because that's living history. But I think history is a subject students either love or they hate. There's no, yeah. Well, breaking the Berlin Wall, short. The Gulf War is certainly an experience that children, and especially the Gulf War, because you actually saw the flights and the actual war as it happened, not as it did with Vietnam. I mean, Vietnam we saw 2 and 3 days
When
later.
the shuttle exploded,
Yeah.
I was in the door in California. I was just leaving the door when it exploded. I'll never forget that.
We were watching Sesame Street. The Canadian station broke. The girls had Sesame
Oh,
Street on.
I had seen it take off, and the first thing I was in the door to help.
Eric, would you like to do your question now? Oh, you did. Mark, I'm sorry, your turn. You didn't have any? I thought Mark did.
No, you didn't ask yours.
You're right in thinking that. I was gonna say,
Well, you're like your father.
I have one. Nice and clear today. Here you go.
We're in need of some new textbooks, but we managed somehow. Were you like us?
With textbooks, you have to pass them from the oldest to the youngest.
Still do that, do they?
The books go from year to year. Yes.
We used to buy our books, and we used to pass it on to your sister or brother.
Oh, I
You know,
see.
what-
It was
You
a
buy what
family.
it wants, it lasts the whole family.
And then when you were done with it, did you sell it to another family?
Sell, you buy it used, usually, and you resell it. When you don't need it, you resell it.
And the teacher was very finicky that you had to cover your book.
You have to have new cover. Every time you have a little forward, you have to put a new cover on it.
And you made those out of brown paper bag.
And you
Or
don't
oilcloth.
mark anything in it.
No. Careful. Those out of brown paper bag.
And you
Or
don't
oilcloth.
mark anything in it.
No. Careful.
We had to buy all our books.
And you bring your own pencils.
And
Paper.
paper.
We had to buy
Paper.
paper to write.
Paper.
And every night we have a big bag of books to do homework.
You recycle all the paper. If you had the luck to have received a letter that was not written on the other side.
Both
But
sides, yeah.
what if you have a business letter that was blank on one side?
It was very fussy on the neat.
Yeah. That's why
Our book was neat.
We had to buy our own book too. Little story that I remember. I was studying, I don't remember what, but I had a rubber band and a pencil here. Then I let it go accidentally. It went right on the teacher's desk and missed the ball. He was up like a fireball. She said, "Who done that?" I got up. I said, "It's me, teacher." "Did you do it on purpose?" "No." I slipped out of my hand. "Sit down." Okay, that was the end of it. But she got up in a hurry. She wasn't tall, but she got up in a hurry. It had to go on the teacher's desk.
Mark, do you have another question, or Jamie?
No.
Any? Lee? Oh, I'm sorry.
In our school, it was public school, and we didn't have to buy our books. The books were furnished by the school. And the paper was also furnished by the school, but the pens...
What a rich school must be.
Higher taxes in the town, probably.
But I don't remember the pencils. I think the pencils were furnished. And the erasers. It was all furnished, but we were limited to how much there was, and the teacher made sure that we didn't waste the paper. And the books belonged truly to the school. Only when I went to high school, private school, we had to buy the
Did you do a lot of penmanship there in Canada?
Not been, oh yeah,
Penmanship.
a lot of writing.
My mother went there, and she had a book that had beautiful penmanship that they had. Something we don't see today.
We went to write all the time.
Agnes has beautiful penmanship.
Yes, she has.
Have you ever seen Agnes' writing?
Juanita has a nice penmanship.
Juanita does.
She never wrote.
Yes, you do.
I only see it at the Catholic Church dinner. She tells me what. Bonnie, would you like to share?
Oh, well, our books are always there. They're fresh from school. Paper.
Karen?
I went to a Catholic high school and we had to buy our own books.
Yeah, we had all our books and papers, all our supplies.
I don't so remember whether they were furnished.
That long ago.
Maybe I didn't.
Oh, you know, you said almost 100. I'm starting to believe it.
We'd get Seth. I bet Seth could.
That could set us. Aren't the books updated every so many years, though?
Here?
Yes.
Well, they're supposed to be, but it's been a good, getting close to 15 years on some of our books. We are in need. Yeah, we've got many of our books are between 10 and 15 years old.
I teach a psychology course with the copyright date's 1973.
Don't
18
don't
years.
okay?
Depends on which book you look at, Dan, but my concern is in 18 years there's been a tremendous change in the field of psychology. It's the same with a history book. If you've got a history book that dates 1975, there's an awful lot that's happened since 1975. And certainly it's a concern taxpayers should have, the cost of books, but you have to think also, I think that students need to be current. We want our children to be competitive. They also have to be current in order to compete in the world today.
That's what I'm, don't these companies revise them every so many years?
They're usually
They do,
they
but you've got to buy them. That's the thing. There's, you're talking $1,000 for, for just one series, say math series or reading series, $1,000 just for 25
current
books.
history book that I use at Edithsburg Falls right now goes for $33.50. One book.
But shouldn't those books
So they
be
run about the same
top
as the
priority instead of some of these other things that we have in
College
schools
books today were
today?
about 60.
I would think that that would be a priority instead of, some of the other different things that we
I
have.
would think they should.
I would think they should be.
Yeah, well, actually, there isn't really a lot of other things you can cut down on. We really don't have a lot in there, quite honestly.
Wow.
In the elementary, because there wasn't many amount of other. But in the elementary school, pretty much basic.
Any of the students have any more questions? Okay. Mark, you have one?
We have punishment, but it wasn't physical. Was yours?
Yes. We call it the conflict.
Oh, this is a good one.
Our teachers and nuns had clappers that they took and clapped together to get your attention. But they quite often would take them, and they were on a like a little screw that they opened up, and they'd hit you on the knuckles if you did something. It didn't sometimes take very much to take and get cracked on the knuckles, if I remember right.
I'd like to hear from everybody on this one. I think this is a good question.
Once in a while you get slapped in the face, especially if you get caught chewing gum.
Yeah, I had my ears boxed once.
Now, what does that mean exactly?
Well, the teacher cuffed me for whatever reason, I don't remember. But I probably deserved it. But along with that, I'd like to tell you about a little example of the punishment that I think just goes to show that if you don't always do as you're supposed to and they punish you, at the time you may feel terribly about it. But almost always it's deserved. And I'd like to recite this little instance. When I went in the 6th grade, I believe, Martha Toll, Mrs. Toll, was my teacher.
Okay, that's Mrs. Gates, our nurse's mother. Okay, so you guys will know? Yes.
Yeah, she's in the other room.
Okay.
And it was, I think, a geography class. And one of the things that we were supposed to know was to learn the countries of Central America. Well, when it came time for class, we were asked a question, and I, for one, hadn't learned the lesson. So, as punishment, those of us who didn't know the countries had to stay after school and write them 500 times.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you that as long as I can draw breath, I'll know the countries of Central America. And they are Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. And I'll know them wrong as I live.
500 times.
But you know, there's been some added since then, Phil. You have Believe.
Well,
now,
probably they're all
and,
different names, probably, but those are the names that were in the book then.
Our teachers didn't punish us, but the principal did. He was very physical. If you got sent to the principal, you knew you were going to get knocked around, pushed around or something. I don't want to think about it.
It was that bad?
No. One meal put in the corner and one down.
Stand up.
I think when I think about it, it wasn't deserved. That's what makes it
In a lot of cases.
sad. I think if I would see that nun today, I'd tell her off.
I went to the nuns also. I went to Holy Angels, and I never remember anyone being hit or anything.
Well, that was in Canada.
Oh,
It's different.
I went to
St. Mary's.
Holy Angels
The
and
nuns were not
St.
so
Austin.
See, I went to Catholic school. I never, 16 years I went to Catholic school. I never saw nuns.
And I
behaving
never
anywhere.
saw a nun hitting anyone.
Third grade teacher was very noted for that at Holy Angels. I'm trying to think.
That's way, way back.
Well, this
Before
is.
your time.
Maybe it was different communities, I don't know.
Yeah, because, well, Phil remembers getting
This is the only
Getting
teacher
it.
that I know of that ever slapped any children, but in the third grade she did.
Mm.
Oh yes, they take and like that quite often. Oh yes, that was at Holy Angels. I can remember the class, and she was a tall nun.
All I remember is putting a child in a closet, and she forgot him there.
You know, the others might have you kneel for a while, but nothing physical.
No, well, nothing, like hitting
This
her
was
head.
it from Bonnie on and
I think it was Sister St.
Yeah, and then we'll
Boston, something like that.
Bonnie?
You had to wear a dunce cap?
Oh. We're not done with the questionnaire, Mark.
Your mother wants you to be quiet.
Dunce cap?
A cap on your head in the corner,
No.
like what they see on television.
You know those cone-type caps there?
Type cap.
No, but they make you sit in the front
I
with your
don't
kids.
think in Canada they had that. This was the United States.
Yeah.
It's American thing.
Bonnie, would you like to share any experiences of being physically?
We didn't have any physical punishment that I remember. But Jamie's sixth grade teacher, I had a first grade teacher. She made Mr. and Mrs. Pierce's daughter Phyllis and I stand in the corner one time for giggling.
In our school, there were some teachers that were pretty, they would take a yardstick usually, and the kids that didn't mind, they would slap them in the hand. But then we did have one teacher that used a chair rung, and there was one boy that she didn't know how to handle him, and he was always going against her and had his hand out and tried to grab the stick, and he closed his hand too quick. She hit him on the knuckles like that. That's the worst, abuse that I did see. As far as myself, that was good.
We didn't look at it as abuse back then, or did we?
Well,
Nope.
Yes, hitting with a rung, yes. I thought that was, I didn't think that was right. A yardstick in the hand probably with pins, but not.
A ruler or yardstick?
Well, yardstick or a ruler, but not a chair rung. That was,
That hurt.
Yeah, that really.
I think. But we never had real abusive.
Yeah.
Well, a few years I went to school when the first day the teacher would set the rules, and you know what to expect if you didn't go by the rules. But abuse, the only thing I can remember is like this with 2 dictionary, one each hand. For 15 minutes, half an hour. And it was a girl. That, I'll never forget that. And she didn't deserve it either. Didn't deserve it at all. That's the worst I can remember. Oh, something else. That was this little different. One boy was caught with matches. So the teacher lined the boys all in line nobody could put his hand in his pocket. And she was going to search us. Well, she only searched one or two or three. One that had a rabbit leg in his pocket. Well,
I changed your mind?
that changed her mind. No, that was the end of the search. But we were warned not to have matches in our pocket. But, no.
One was making sometimes kids kneel down or sit in the front so all the kids can see them.
Yeah.
That's what they are. So that's one thing. We have to be good because if we go home, say we was finished again. No.
See, that was me. If I went home, my father ate breakfast with the principal every morning, and the principal told him I did something. I was in more trouble at home than I was at school.
Yeah,
It wasn't worth being bad.
We was careful.
It wasn't.
That was the old way.
My godmother said they have 12, they can be in school every day, so we have to line them.
Our teacher used to use a yardstick, so if you moved your hand, it's 3 feet away, she'd still get you. So, couldn't miss, you know. And one time I came home and told my father, the teacher gave me spanking that day. I never told him again because I got one word out.
That was discipline.
Yeah, I know. Mrs. Andrea?
I was told something that happened in Highgate on the go home school. Somewhere there was a wood box. So I was told that who the teacher was, and I know who the boy was, that the teacher put or asked him to go in the wood box. She closed the cupboard. And one girl, older, got really upset. She went to the teacher and she had a fight with the teacher to get that little boy out. Apparently that is something that this lady was telling me. She feels that boy has always been affected. She feels that his behavior has always been affected by the time that he's spent in the wood box.
Now I bet you were going to hear some good stories.
I didn't get in the wood box, I got in the closet.
Let me guess who put you there.
Oh, gosh.
Was it Miss Dewing or Lucille May? Did May teach you?
The worst part about it was that she forgot I was in there and all that.
Stayed overnight?
No, I went to recess. And then after recess was over, then she let me out and I went out to recess and there was nobody to play with.
And did you go home and tell your father and get punished more at home? Selective memory? Is that what it is? Selective memory? Mrs. Malone, as a teacher of 34 years, do you ever remember having to resort to what you feel now with...
I don't think I ever did much thinking.
Were you allowed to?
When we were
You were allowed
we were
to?
allowed to when I first used to teach. I had my first school as a rural school. I had 8th grades in one room. And where was that? Where was it? Chester, Arlington. And I don't remember ever thanking the child in that school. It was just one big family. And we did a lot of things that were fun, and I brought in a lot of things they'd never heard of, like the ham radio and a lot of things that they had no idea about. It was wonderful year. I wouldn't have that year taken away from me for anything. It was really great.
I think if Mrs. Malone had to spank a child, it hurt her more than it hit
I'm
the
sure
child.
I did. I have
We know
no
of an
doubt to
incident.
that in my mind. No doubt to that.